You'll see him in your nightmares, you'll see him in your dreams. He'll appear out of nowhere, but he ain't what he seems. You'll see him in your head on the TV screen. Hey buddy, I'm warning you to turn it off. He's a ghost, he's a god, he's a man, he's a guru. You're one microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Alan's Horror World. My name is Alan. Of course, you guys already know that. I know it's been quite a while since I did my last review. I'm still doing videos on this channel because I announced I'm going to be doing more gameplay videos, like clips from Friday the 13th, the game, or Dead by Daylight, because I want to. It's my channel, but I haven't done a review in a while, and I was going to do reviews of the Scream franchise in January, but I got lazy and said no. So you may be getting reviews of the Scream movies and the Friday the 13th movies this month. And hopefully I will not be too lazy to do so. And like I already said, the MCU Spider-Man movies, I won't be reviewing them for quite a while. And I finally did see the Andrew Garfield movies. I won't tell you my thoughts right now. I won't. But you're going to have to wait for those reviews. I'm sorry. I just wanted to come back to horror. That's what I wanted. I wanted to come back to the horror genre because it's my genre and I love it more than superhero movies. So, anyways, let's just go ahead and get started with my third review of Scream. Let's get this out of the way right now. So, Scream from 1996 stars Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courteney Cox, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy, Rose McGowan, Drew Barrymore, and is directed by Wes Craven. It is also written by Kevin Williamson, who actually used a lot of horror movies as inspiration for this movie, and he also went on to write several 90s ripoffs of this movie. Wes Craven reinvented and revitalized the slasher horror genre with this modern horror classic, which manages to be funny, clever, and scary as a fright-masked knife maniac stalks high school students in middle-class suburbia. Craven is happy to provide both tension and self-parody as the body count rises, but the victims aren't always the ones you'd expect. So yes, this is my third time reviewing the original Scream. My third time reviewing this movie. My very first review of this movie, I don't even think it's on my channel anymore, to be honest. I think it's gone completely. I think I got rid of it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check. But, oh my god. My first review of this movie was so god-awful. I hate that review so much. And my second review, it's not that good either. So I want to give this franchise, and especially this first movie, justice. I want to give it justice and give it the proper review that it deserves. And I have a really long list of like positives and maybe one mixed aspect. And then so on and so forth. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I will be reviewing every sequel after this, including the newest film we got last month. Yes, I'm going to be reviewing Scream 2022. I haven't talked about it too much on this channel. I don't even think I mentioned it on this YouTube channel yet. But you will be getting a review of Scream 5 and as well as 2 through 4. And I'm going to tell you, I have quite a few controversial opinions about this franchise. But we're only going to be focusing on this first movie. What are my thoughts? Everybody knows Scream is one of my favorite movies ever. I adore this movie to freaking pieces. I love it, I love it, I love it. Scream is one of the best horror movies ever made, and no one could prove me wrong here. If you do not like Scream, that is completely fine with me. I don't care if you don't like Scream. It is your opinion and your opinion only. But I love this movie. And I'm going to get into the many, many, many reasons I love this movie. So let's go ahead and get into the positives of Scream. Positive number one, this film is really, really meta. but in the best possible way. This film is so self-aware of the rules of horror movies. And I think Kevin Williamson got this from Friday the 13th Part 6, because one of the characters was self-aware of horror movies when she ran into Jason, but she died anyway. She was gonna die. It's Jason Voorhees. But there are a lot of horror movie references in this, like references to Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Prom Night, The Fog, Psycho, like all of the classics that we know about. And I love it. I love every single reference in this movie. Like, they're used so well. And the rules of horror movies are pointed out by Jamie Kennedy in this movie. Like, rule number 1, don't have sex. And yet, Sydney, our virginal final girl, is having sex with Billy right upstairs in this scene. But they also manage to subvert our expectations. They divert our expectations. And Sydney actually survives when normally you would die if you had sex in a horror movie. Sydney lives throughout the entire franchise. We'll see about Scream 5. But she lives throughout the entire franchise, which is something I would have never saw coming with this movie, because the moment I knew she was going to have sex with Billy, I'm like, oh, she's going to die, maybe. I don't know. No, she doesn't die. She actually lives, and I really love that about this movie. That the fact that you give us classic rules of horror movies, but you divert our expectations by having the characters who do this survive. Randy gets drunk as heck at the party in the final act, and he still lives. He still lives. Not so much in the sequel, but he still lives. Next, Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl ever. I know, all you Laurie Strode fanatics are going to be like, oh, blasphemy, I thought it was Laurie Strode. No, my mind has changed. I don't care. It's my opinion. Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl. I may like Halloween just a tad bit more than Scream, but no, Neve Campbell's where it's at. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but Neve Campbell's where it's at. Like, I love Sidney in all these movies, okay? I'm just saying that right now. I love Sidney in every single one of these movies, and Neve Campbell is one of the main reasons why. She delivers a great performance in every single movie. And she delivers a very interesting and well-written character. Sidney is one of the most, like, in-depth and well-written characters of the franchise. Like, her mom was killed a year before this movie, and she thought it was Cotton Weary, and she locked him away for life, and he was about to be put on death row, and then here comes another killer who could actually be the real murderer of her mother, Maureen. And yeah, she's finally beginning to realize she may have put the wrong guy behind bars this entire time, which I think is a clever twist of this movie. And Sidney kicks a lot of butt in this movie. Like, you think she's like not as much at first. Like, she's very vulnerable at first, but towards the final act, she owns Billy and Stu like no other. Yes, I'm going to spoil this movie. This movie is almost 26 years old. I'm going to spoil the heck out of this movie. It's pretty much an old movie to me. It's like 2.5 decades old. I'm going to spoil Scream. So do not be surprised that I'm spoiling it. But Sidney does own Billy and Stu in the final act, literally kicks their butts repeatedly in the final act, which I love, and that makes me love Sidney even more. Next, the script is immensely well written, and the pacing is perfect. I'm going to put these both into one positive, because pacing is involved with writing a script. This script is perfect. This is a perfectly written script by Kevin Williamson. I know there are a couple changes from the original script that were put into the movie and were not in the original script, but there are a lot of classic lines in this movie, like, what's your favorite scary movie? Or, what's the matter, Sidney? You look like you've seen a ghost. Or, there are certain rules that must be... Okay, I can't freaking remember. There are certain rules of how to survive a horror movie. There you go. I can't remember the actual freaking line. I had it, and I just... Oh, well. Oh, well, that's fine. But there's a lot of classic lines. A lot of classic lines for characters in this movie. And there's, like, perfectly written scenes of suspense and horror. And one in particular that I will be getting into soon. But I really love this script. This is one of the best scripts for a film that has ever been written. And that is all thanks to Kevin Williamson, the freaking genius. Kevin Williamson is the true mastermind of this movie. This is Kevin Williamson's movie. I know Wes Craven directed it, but this is Kevin Williamson's movie. He wrote it. He put true spirit into this movie. Wes Craven was not even going to direct it, but he did it the last second, and I still give him credit for it. But this is Kevin Williamson's baby. This is his baby, and yeah, and he delivered one of the best films of all time, in my true and honest opinion. Speaking of scenes filled with suspense, the opening scene of this movie is my favorite opening scene in film history. I think you know why, so I'm not even... This has been said to death. The Drew Barrymore scene is one of the best scenes in horror. It's one of the best openings ever. It's my favorite opening of all time. I don't need to say anything else. Moving on. Next, once again, spoilers. Billy Loomis and Stu Macher are great killers. I love them as killers, to be completely honest. They have really good motives. Billy is obviously the mastermind of the killer duo, and basically his motive was Sydney's mother, Maureen, was sleeping around with his father, and it caused his own mother to abandon the family and leave him there. In reality, it was actually Roman from Scream 3 who convinced him to kill Maureen because he's a whiny baby, because she literally abandoned him as a kid. He's a whiny baby. Go find your own family if she rejects you. Just move on. You were an adult when she rejected you. You are a whiny baby. And Stu's motive is simple. Peer pressure. He's far too sensitive. And there you go. Yes, I pretty much quoted him from the movie, and I don't care. Let's just move on. Next, Matthew Lillard. Need I say more? It's Matthew Lillard. It's Matthew Lillard.
Peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive.
I'm gonna rip you up, you bitch! Just like your fucking mother!
You gotta find me first, you pansy-ass mama's boy!
Fuck! Fucking hit me with a phone, dick! Fucker, where are you? Ah! Ah, you fuck!
Did you really call the police?
You missed your sorry ass,
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Next, Jamie Kennedy portrays one of the most relatable characters of horror to me, which is Randy Meeks. Randy is basically us. He's basically me. He can be you. He can be any other horror fanatic that has, grew up with horror. And I'm one of those people. He acts just like me. I always talk about horror movies, like behind the scenes, who played who in this movie, who did the score, who directed it, who wrote it, and who produced it, or who even did the cinematography, Dean Cundy did the cinematography for Halloween, or John Carpenter did the score for The Fog, or something like that. And it's something like that, and it's really cool that I can relate to someone like Randy. I can relate to someone like Randy. Also, I highly recommend you check out Jamie Kennedy's YouTube channel. Yes, he has a YouTube channel, and I highly recommend it. He actually seems like a really cool guy in his videos, and I think he did talk about the new Scream movie, and I think he loved it. So, go check out his YouTube channel. Just look up Jamie Kennedy, and you will find him. Yes, I'm giving Jamie Kennedy a shout out in this video. You were terrific in both this and Scream 2. So, there we go, moving on. And finally, the third act of this movie is one of the best in horror history. The pacing of this movie, it's kind of a slow burn, but not really. But once this final act gets going, it never lets the heck up. It never lets up until the final shot of this movie. This final act is freaking bonkers. This is one of the craziest final acts in cinema history, in horror history. The twist, the over-the-top performance by Matthew Lillard that is so memorable, the violence, the suspense, the tension, and then finally it just slowly dies down when we get to the final shot with Gale Weathers reporting in front of Stu Macher's house the next morning. And yes, Dewey lives. Yay. We get that scare where we think, oh no, Dewey's dead. No, he's alive. He's in the ambulance. He lived. And I was just like, oh, thank God. I really like Dewey, by the way. I didn't really talk about the characters, but I like all the characters in this movie. That could basically be another positive. But yes, the final act is one of the craziest final acts in horror, and it might be my favorite final act of the entire franchise, to be completely honest. I have one mixed aspect with this movie, I know, very surprising, and that is the reveal of both of the killers. Now, on one hand, the revealability was not surprising in the slightest. I suspected him from the very beginning. I'm not stupid. He looks like a serial killer, and he acts like a serial killer. Like, I literally knew it was him. I'm just like, okay, it has to be Billy. It's gotta be Skeet Ulrich. Like, I don't care if he's handsome. He's also a serial killer, and he acts like one. He really does act like one throughout this movie, and that was not built up very well. I do like the curveball they threw in there with, like, him getting stabbed over and over, and you actually think he got killed, and you're like, oh, okay, alright, I'm sorry, Billy, and nope, he's still the killer. He faked it all, but the reveal of Stu really surprised me. I would have never suspected Matthew Lillard, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, I would have never expected him to be a serial killer. That was surprising, not gonna lie. Guys, I have no negatives for this movie. Let's go ahead and move on to my final thoughts. Overall, guys, Scream is a terrific movie. I love this movie to freaking death. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's in my top 3 horror movies. It used to be like my 5th favorite. Now it is my 2nd favorite horror movie, right behind Halloween. It took a rewatch to finally realize that, but I adore this movie with every bit of my heart. I love it. I love it so much. This is what a horror movie should be. I love it. Like, all I have to say is I love it. And even if this were a standalone installment, I would still love the heck out of it, even without the sequels. But I think the sequels kind of make this movie a little bit better for me because I will admit, every sequel is inferior to this movie. That is a little bit of a spoiler for my ranking. Every sequel is inferior to this. But again, another spoiler alert, I love all the sequels. But if you are very new to horror, this is a horror movie I highly recommend for you to watch. This is a scary movie you need to watch if you are just getting into the genre. This is one of the ones I would highly recommend because it's not too scary. It's very gory, but like not too gory like some horror movies that I've seen. But it's like the right amount of horror and gore for new viewers. And if you haven't seen Scream in a long time, then I'd highly recommend giving it another rewatch. I'm going to give Scream from 1996, directed by the great late Wes Craven, an A+. So guys, what are your thoughts on Scream? Let me know in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know. If you hate it, I don't know what to do with you then. We can have a debate in the comments below if you hate this movie. And even let me know if you're in the middle. Let me know if this is not your favorite in the franchise. If you actually prefer one of the sequels, go ahead and let me know. Go ahead and let me know. So, yeah. Go ahead and let me know. So, anyways, guys, give this video a like and definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. I passed 800 subscribers about a month ago, and I'm so happy we are on our way to 900. And hopefully this year, hopefully we can make it to 1K. I want to make it to 1,000 subscribers, please. It would be a dream. If I were only able to hit 1,000 subscribers in my life, that would just be a dream come true. I would love that for that to happen. And also be looking forward to my reviews of Screams 2, 3, 4, and 2022, the one that just came out last month. So be looking forward to those. And yeah, like I said, I do have some controversial opinions about some of the sequels. So anyways, guys, I guess that's pretty much it. So anyways, I'm Adeline. This is Adeline's Horror World, of course. You guys already know that. I love all you guys to death. And until next time,